shoot, 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 shoot.
Hey guys, it's Ren City here, host of Sports and Shorts of Sorts, doing the NFL recaps. This is week 3 recap, doing it as we jump into week 4. Craziness going on. We're going to jump back. We're jumping all over the place, going to week 3. Going to break down the games that happen, take you in the week 4. When we look at the crystal ball, and I kind of tell you what's going to happen. I think that's how it's going to go down. So let's start with Thursday's game. We have Patriots and Jets. Big AFC East battle. Jets came into this one. They went right down the field. Aaron Rodgers only getting one incompletion on the drive, and he capped it off by finding former Green Bay teammate Allen Lazard. He made a tackler miss, getting his jersey ripped a bit on the way, but he'd score 7-0. That defense dominant. They got the ball right back to Rodgers. Again, another drive. This time Breece Hall looked to score. It's called short. They reviewed it, overturned it. Boom. Suddenly Jets are up 14-0. Patriots tried to get back in the game. They get a field goal, Joey Slye field goal, and they trailed 14-3. But the Jets again moved down the field. Except here we go, field goal. Except the Zerline Legatron, he missed it. So Jacoby Brissett had a chance at a Hail Mary. Just like the rest of the half, it did not go well for them. Incomplete. Jets leading 14-3 at half, and the Pats opened the scoring up, or opened the second half with a 3-and-out. Giving it to the Jets, who. Here we go, marching back down the field. Rodgers finding Wilson, the first touchdown connection between those two. Probably many more to come. The Jets had a 21-3 lead. Jets were looking to even add more points. Rodgers got sacked, and the lineman, Morgan Moses, he got rolled up on. I hate seeing linemen get rolled up on. He'd go to the locker room, and he'd be out. But the Jets, they'd come up short on that drive, getting a field goal, 24-3. Game, it didn't look like the Patriots were coming back, so they said, hey, let's throw number 3 overall pick Drake May out there so he can get a brief cameo in the NFL, but Jets easily took it 24-3. Which brought us to the weekend games with the Giants. They started this game off going against the Browns, and they started it off by fumbling the kickoff, so not a very good start for the Giants. The Browns recovered. Very next play, Cleveland's Deshaun Watson found Amari Cooper in the end zone, 24-yard play. Quick touchdown gave the Browns a really early 7-0 lead. Giants look to respond against that tough Browns defense, going to a lot of Devin Singletary, and Singletary would cap that drive off with a 1-yard touchdown run. Game tied at 7, and just after the 2-minute warning, Daniel Jones would find rookie wide receiver out of LSU, Malik Neighbors, 3-yard touchdown. 6th overall pick in the draft. It was a pretty ridiculous catch for him. You got to watch the replay on that one. But the Giants up 14-7. Then after the Giants got some stops, they get the ball back again. Go deep in Brown territory. Oh, that sounds kind of dirty. But anyway, the Danny Dimes would find Malik Neighbors for a touchdown. 5 yards out, second touchdown connection in 90 seconds of actual game time. The Giants were up 21-7 going into halftime. Giants were looking to increase on that lead, but Singletary would fumble the ball, giving the Browns great field position. And from that turnover, the Browns would go for a field goal, but Dustin Hopkins would miss. The game stayed 21-7. Early in the fourth, the Browns, they'd bring some energy in their home stadium. Deshaun Watson would find Amari Cooper in the end zone, their second touchdown connection of the game. They'd go for 2. Watson would spot Judy in the end zone to execute the 2-point conversion. The Giants' lead was 21-15. Browns were looking for more points, but they'd have a soul-crushing turnover when Deshaun Watson and Jerome Ford had a bad handoff exchange. Fumble, Giants recovered. The Giants were killing off some clock, just hoping to get a field goal to expand their lead, but things changed when Greg Joseph missed the field goal. Score staying at 21-15, keeping the Browns alive with just under 3 minutes to go. But it's another moment for the Giants. They have these moments lately. The past few years, you're like, oh my goodness. But the Browns, their offense would stall. Faced with a 4th down, the Browns didn't convert, turning it over on defense. And the very next play, Singletary busted a long run that could have went to the end zone. Except smart play, he fell down at the 1, and that unselfish play gave the Giants the chance to kill off the game. Victory formation that's not very popular with the Giants over the last few years, and it's a big win for them. Their first of the season. Not going to lie, Danny Dimes looked pretty good out there, and against a tough Browns defense. He didn't even throw a pick. His growing relationship with rookie Malik Neighbors, that's going to be something fun to watch throughout the year. And shout out to the Giants defense, sacking Deshaun Watson 8 times. Yeah, that's 8 times. The Browns showed heart in trying to come back, but with all the expectations coming in, you got to be disappointed with their performance. I know their guy, Nick Chubb, he's still dealing with that injury. We don't know when he's coming back, but Browns have to be better at running the ball there. They showed you what happened when they can't be effective at it. Eagles and the Saints. This was wild. The Saints were hosting the Eagles, and the Saints have been one of the hottest teams in the league right now. The Eagles were coming in, and they were trying to stop them, and they did pretty good, forcing Blake Grupe into an early field goal. Hosts led 3-0, and then the game seemed to be more directed to tough defenses. The Honey Badgers, Tyrann Mathieu, he picked off the Eagles' Jalen Hurts, just as the Eagles were looking to score. Saints still leading. Early in the third, in this surprisingly low-scoring game, the Eagles decided, let's go for it, 4th and short. And they'd come up short. Another turnover on downs for a very aggressive Eagles team. And in a game no offense really seemed to want to win, the Eagles had their punt blocked by the Saints, giving the home side Saints some great field positioning, where Saints' Dennis Allen, their coach, said, Nick Sirianni, hold my beer. I'm going to go for it for 4th down. And he didn't convert, giving it back to the Eagles. I mentioned how this game lacked any real punch offensively, but that all changed in one big punch, just like a knockout fight. Saquon Barkley busted a 65-yard touchdown run, the first of the game, and first score since that field goal in the first quarter. And the Eagles, after the extra point, 7-6. Saints were finally moving down the field with their high-octane offense. The first 2 weeks, it was really struggling to get to the end zone here. They'd go on a long drive and settle for another groupie field goal, cutting the lead to 7-6. And we'd see some more questionable decisions by Nick Sirianni in the fourth quarter. Instead of trying to pin the struggling Saints offense in their own end, well, they were high-powered the first 2 weeks, but they were struggling in this game. Instead of trying that, he's like, let's go for the 60-yard field goal, missing the kick, giving the Saints pretty good field position while the Eagles held on to that 1-point lead. That decision looked even worse when the Saints did not need to move the ball very far to get their first touchdown of the game. Derek Carr found Chris Olave in the corner of the end zone. Chris Olave has some of the best toe dragging you see in the NFL. Just amazing. Saints went for 2. They didn't get it, but they still led 12-7 following the touchdown. Like, I expected the score to be way higher. But anyway, the Saints looked to have the Eagles right where they wanted them, deep in their own territory, facing 3rd and long. But a breakdown in the defensive coverage left tight end Dallas Goedert wide open. Jalen Hurts found him, and the big tight end would scamper down to the 14-yard line, hustling and bustling. The 61-yard gain. The Eagles picked up the first down. There's a clip going around of Eagles offensive tackle Jordan Mailata. If you know from the Jersey mentions we do on each episode, in episode 68, we talk about him. He's yelling at Dallas Goedert to run faster, unhook the trailer. I love that. Even jokingly shouting to his teammate, Dallas, you slow motherfucker. I'm sorry, I'm happy, I promise. The very next play, Barkley would run in his second touchdown, this one from 4 yards out, and the Eagles went for 2, keeping it to Barkley, and he'd convert, giving the Eagles a 15-12 lead with just over a minute to go. The Saints were looking to at least get a field goal, force some overtime, and they were looking to move the ball in big chunks. Derek Carr went to throw the ball down the middle of the field. He took a big shot, causing the ball to sail a bit, and it got picked by Reed Blankenship. Another huge play by the young safety. Blankenship just seems to make those plays, and that sealed the 15-12 win for the Eagles. A game, like I said, did not go anywhere how I expected. I expected points, and we did not see them. And the Eagles picked up some injuries. They were already missing A.J. Brown. And then during the game, they lost lineman Lane Johnson to a concussion, Mickey Becton to a finger. Devontae Smith, the guy's been amazing all year. He's knocked out of the game with a concussion. It was a hit that I found super late by Saints rookie defensive lineman Christian Boyd, and it didn't even warrant a flag. I don't know how. It was so late to the head. And during the week, Boyd did receive a $4,600 fine, which does seem low considering the damage he did. And the usual fine for a hit on a defensive player is around $16,000. But the reason his is low because he's a first-time offender as a rookie, and he cannot be fined more than 10% of the salary cap hit for that game. So we really got away with this here. But, yeah, the Eagles, they're hurt. And Britton Covey, he picked up a shoulder injury, lots of injuries. But the Eagles did win, moving to 2-1 as the Saints lose and move to 2-1 as well. Houston C.J. Stroud, he got hit as he was throwing in an early game against the Vikings, he would get intercepted on that hit, setting up the Minnesota Vikings nicely in their matchup. Nice early pick there. The Vikings capitalized on that early, turnover with Sam Darnold finding Justin Jefferson in the end zone. Just like that, Vikings up 7-0. Minnesota was rolling. On their next drive, Darnold would find Aaron Jones out of the backfield, and the former Packer went 8 yards for the touchdown, 14-0 in the first quarter. And then early in the second half, the Vikings just kept rolling. They did get some help when they were looking for a long ball, and the Texans were called a pass interference, so that gave them great spot in the Houston territory. And from there, Sam Darnold found Jalen Nailor, 4-yard touchdown pass. Sam Darnold's third of the game as they led 21-0. As the quarter was winding down, Houston finally got on the board. C.J. Stroud found running back Cam Akers out of the backfield. 8-yard touchdown pass cut the lead to 21-7. And you'd see a bit of a nervy scene in Minnesota. The on-fire Darnold took a big hit, triggered a roughing the passer penalty, which is good for a first down, but not to see the hit Darnold took. He left the game briefly. We were a little concerned. Nick Mullins came in, but Darnold came back, and he was looking good, so all good there. And to start the fourth, Minnesota kicker Will Reichard, he looked good, knocking his field goal through. Darnold was showing fans, like, don't worry, I'm okay, throwing his fourth touchdown of the game, the tight end Johnny Munt on a 2-yard scoring play, and the Vikings led 31-7. And the Vikings added another field goal. The NCAA Division I FBS scoring leader, he nailed a 58-yard field goal to cap off the 34-7 win. They got a good one in Will Reichard, I think. They haven't had consistent good kicking in Minnesota for a bit here, not since the Doink, I think. But anyway, things were going well for the Vikings, where they had that scare with Darnold. They had an MRI this week, just a bruise. He should be good to go in week 4 against the Packers. That should be always a good one. And the Broncos, they looked really good going into Tampa Bay. Rookie quarterback Bo Nix, he looked like a veteran starting this one, leading Denver down the field, capping the drive off with a 3-yard touchdown run, easily getting in the end zone, giving the Broncos a 7-0 lead. Baker Mayfield has been the darling of the NFL to start the season. He was looking to respond quickly, but he was picked off by Denver's Brandon Jones, giving the Broncos pretty good field position where they'd go into deep into Tampa territory, and when faced on a 4th down, Sean Payton said, fuck it, let's go for it. It was a running back toss to Jaleel McLaughlin, and I'm not going to lie, it looked like a disaster. The defense looked like they had it covered. When McLaughlin showed that determination, a little shiftiness, getting to the end zone, it was a pretty spectacular run. It was all on him, and just like that, Denver was up 14-0. They get a Will Lutz field goal, they're up 17-0. Buccaneers finally got some points late in the first half when Baker Mayfield found Chris Godwin in the end zone. That 5-yard touchdown cut it to 17-7. The Broncos looked for some own points to end the half, where Bo Nix did enough to get in the field goal range, and Lutz added another field goal. And how about that? Broncos up 20-7 at half. They get another Lutz field goal, 23-7, and the Bucs, they were needing points. And when faced with 4th down, they went for it, coming up short, turning the ball over, where Denver would capitalize by getting another field goal. They led 26-7, and Mayfield would look to answer again, but after he found Cade Otton, the tight end fumbled, giving it back to the Broncos, who were just turning over the Bucs. And that just kind of summed out how Tampa Bay's game went in a nutshell. Denver held on to the 26-7 win, a great performance by Sean Payton's team. Everyone really played great, especially rookie Bo Nix. I'd say definitely his best game as a pro thus far in the NFL. Tampa Bay, like, amazing start to the season, but they were humbled a bit in their first loss. Both top teams in the NFC South really came out flat in week 3. The Saints, as I talked about earlier, and the Buccaneers, they both got brought down to earth a bit after their rocket starts to the season here. My Packers, they went into Tennessee, and they marched right down the field to cap off their opening drive. Malik Willis running it in from 5 yards out, stick it to his old team a bit, the team that drafted him, the Titans, as they went up 7-0. And it didn't take long for the Titans to respond. They moved down the field quite easily. And then Will Levis would spot Nick Vannett in the end zone. 1-yard touchdown pass, Vannett's first touchdown since 2021. Willis, he's still looking good out there. He'd lead another drive, but they'd settle for a field goal where Packers rookie Braden Arvison hit it through to make it 10-7. Titans looking to answer again. Will Levis tested cornerback Jair Alexander, which isn't a good idea. If you want to test someone, he's not the guy to test usually. Alexander picked him, took it to the house, pick 6, put the Packers up 17-7. This is all in the first quarter still. Second quarter opened with another Arvison field goal, and the Packers were up 20-7. Going into halftime. To start the half, the Titans were looking for points, and when faced on 4th and short, Callahan said, we got to go for it. Levis tried to pick it up, and he did not get it. Another turnover on downs. Packers went in the field goal range, and before they could get the points, the Titans picked up a penalty, giving the Packers a first down, which was big, because 2 plays later, Malik Willis spotted running back Emmanuel Wilson out of the backfield. He took the screen pass, run into the end zone, 30-yard touchdown, first of Wilson's career, and the Packers were up 27-7. The Titans needed some kind of response, and Will Levis, he just started throwing at DeAndre Hopkins, which, I mean, that's a pretty good solution. And he'd hook up with Hopkins most of that drive, capping it off with an 11-yard touchdown from Levis to Hopkins. cutting the lead to 27-14. The Titans were looking for another response, but Levis got sacked, losing the ball, another turnover where the Packers recovered. So the day just seemed to get worse for Will Levis. He'd again look to try to bring something positive to Tennessee, but he'd throw another pick to the Packers' big free agent signing, Xavier McKinney. This was all Packers. They run away with it, taking the 30-14 win. Yeah, gotta like how Willis played against his old team. He said he wasn't gonna hype it up, but I think there was something there. You had the Indianapolis Colts hosting the Chicago Bears in a battle of young quarterbacks, and not much scoring in the first quarter. The Colts were moving the ball down the field looking for the game's first score, and we'd see the brilliance of Anthony Richardson in that cannon of an arm. Then you'd see some of the plays that are like, okay, he's still not there yet. Throwing one of the worst interceptions of week 3, throwing it right to Chicago's Tremaine Edmonds in the end zone, erasing any chance the Colts had at points on that drive. Bears looked to take advantage of that turnover, but number 1 overall pick Caleb Williams threw an interception of his own. Showed some nice escapability, which he's had to do a lot in Chicago with the blocking they've had, and he'd stare down his wide receiver before throwing it to Jalen Jones. And first interception for him in the Colts this season. And the Colts opened the scoring in the game about halfway through the second when Jonathan Taylor busted out a 29-yard touchdown, giving the Colts a 7-0 lead. And to end the first half, Caleb Williams showed off the arm, throwing up a Hail Mary to try to get the Bears a touchdown before halftime. It was batted and completed the receiver DJ Moore, but he was just short of the end zone. And the Colts took that 7-0 lead going into the break. The Bears opening the second half was scoring, with Cairo Santos hitting the 53-yard field goal to make it 7-3. And as Williams was looking for more points with the Bears, he'd force a tough throw in the double coverage, looking for fellow rookie Rome Odunze, and it was deflected by Nick Cross, and Jalen Jones snagged the second pick of the game for him. The Colts would get faced with a 4th and short of their own. And much like a lot of these aggressive teams have been talking about, they'd fail to pick up that 4th down. And the Colts would get the ball back, though, and they'd just start feeding Jonathan Taylor, who looked like the Taylor a few years ago, capping off a very physical drive with a Trey Sermon 1-yard touchdown run. It looked like he was stopped, but then suddenly a rugby scrum appeared, and they got to the end zone. The Colts had a 14-3 lead going in the third quarter. Early in the fourth, Bears would respond. We'd see a pair of firsts. Caleb Williams would find fellow rookie Rome Odunze in the end zone, 1-yard touchdown. It's going to be a toss-up. Who keeps that ball, right? Both rookies, both getting first touchdowns on that play. Bears went for 2, didn't get it, down 14-9. And that was a big moment for the number 1 overall pick, as well as other rookie quarterbacks who've been receiving guff, because not a lot of them have been throwing touchdown passes after the first 2 games. So the Bears defense did get the ball back to the offense, and Williams wanted to go ahead score. Instead, he gets strip sacked by 15th overall pick in this year's draft, rookie out of UCLA. Laiato Latu. You not only get the sack, but the recovery. Colts great field position in the red zone. Jonathan Taylor punching in a 1-yard touchdown. Colts up 21-9. Bears moved the ball down the field, getting the Colts territory, and on 4th and 1, Williams found Cole Kmet in the end zone. Second career touchdown pass. The Bears, after the extra point, were down 21-16. They would get the ball back and just need a first down to ice the game, the Colts, and Jonathan Taylor picked it up with his feet to seal the win, beating the Bears 21-16. First win of the Colts season, so good on them. You had the visiting LA Chargers going to Pittsburgh, and they'd open up the scoring in this one. Justin Herbert found Quentin Johnson, 27-yard touchdown score, leading them 7-0. The Steelers, they methodically moved down the field. Justin Fields showing a lovely play action, tricking the defense were scampering in for a 5-yard score. Things were tied up 7. Chargers got a Cameron Dicker, the kicker, field goal to make it 10-7 going in the half. And the Steelers started the second half with a nice drive, but settled with a field goal of their own, and we were tied at 10. Then the Steelers would look to add some more points, but when Justin Fields looked for Cordarrelle Patterson, the ball popped up in the air where it was picked by linebacker Bud Dupree. Although immediately after that interception, we'd see some troubling scenes for Chargers fans. Justin Herbert looked to re-aggravate his ankle injury after getting sacked by Pittsburgh's Elandon Roberts, and that ankle's been troublesome for the quarterback. Coming into the season, it looked pretty good, but he injured that ankle in Week 2 in the win over Carolina, and as I said in my NFL Week 2 recap, there was a chance Herbert wouldn't finish that game against Pittsburgh, and I was unfortunately right on that one. He got replaced by Taylor Heineke, and the Chargers offense struggled, leading the Steelers getting possession, and Boswell hit another field goal, giving the Steelers their first lead of the game, 13-10. Chargers offense still couldn't muster much. Pittsburgh got the ball back, and Justin Fields found Calvin Austin III. He showed off the Jets, taking a short pass to pay dirt for 55 yards, increasing Pittsburgh's lead to 20-10. The Steelers would hold on for the big win, staying undefeated at 3-0. What a start in Steeltown for Justin Fields. The cast-off from Chicago has gone undefeated with his new team, And it was the first loss of the season for the Chargers under new coach Jim Harbaugh. But the biggest concern for the Chargers has to be the health of the quarterback's ankle. And the Chargers will be out without star safety Derwin Jones Jr. in their big Week 4 game against the Chiefs. He was against the Kansas City Chiefs. He was suspended for a hit he put on tight end Pat Freiermuth, which did warrant a flag. But I was surprised that got a suspension, especially since that hit I was talking about earlier, Devontae Smith took. That didn't even warrant a flag, and this guy's getting a suspension. I don't know how it works. I don't get it. So you had the Miami Dolphins were visiting the Seattle Seahawks with Skylar Thompson at quarterback. We know Tua Tagovailoa, he's out at least the next few games after being placed on IR after that scary concussion. And the Seahawks opened the scoring up in this one, a 56-yarder by Jason Myers, but a field goal put them up. Miami offense struggled with Skylar Thompson running the show, and they tried a 57-yarder from Jason Sanders, but he'd miss, giving the Seahawks great field position, and Geno Smith didn't have to lead them far, capping off the short drive with a 4-yard Zach Charbonnet touchdown run. That put the Seahawks up 10-0. And the Dolphins, like I said, they were struggling. They get a bit of a lifeline when Geno Smith threw a bad interception in his own territory, giving the Dolphins pretty good field position, and they'd get on the board late in the quarter when Jason Sanders' field goal went in, making up for that earlier miss, cutting it to 10-3. Seahawks got the ball back, and with the last play of the first quarter, Geno Smith wound up and he chucked it deep. He went big to DK Metcalf, outrunning the defense, scoring on the 71-yard touchdown, giving Seattle a 17-3 lead going into the second quarter. Team struggled to put up any points in the third. The Dolphins got a spark when Berrios returned to punt for big yards, trying to get some momentum, but they'd follow that up with a 3-and-out, and they'd lose their backup, now starting quarterback, Skylar Thompson, to a rib injury. He took a big shot and had to lead the game. Now you got Tim Boyle in there, the third stringer's making his time to finish the game up at QB. Seahawks put the final nail in the coffin and contributed the last score of the second half. Or the first score of the second half, pardon me, when Zach Charbonnet ran in the second touchdown of the game. This one from 10 yards out, and the Seahawks were up 24-3, and that is the last score of the game, sir, I guess. They're moving to 3-0 on this season under new head coach Mike McDonald. Could not have asked a better start to his NFL head coaching career. While the Dolphins moved to 1-2, and it's a troubling 1-2. Great talent, but no quarterback to get it to them. They did pick up, remember, Raven Pro Bowler Tyler Huntley. Snoop, he's in the building, so he may get thrown to the Wolves sooner than planned. See what he can do until Tua comes back. We had the Panthers playing the Raiders, and this things look different behind center with the Panthers. They benched last year's number 1 overall pick, Bryce Young, for the Red Rifle veteran quarterback, Andy Dalton. He was going up against the Las Vegas Raiders defense, and on that opening drive, Dalton was rolling. He was moving the ball down the field, capping the drive off with a 6-yard touchdown pass to Canadian Chuba Hubbard out of the backfield. That early touchdown gave the Panthers a 7-0 lead. First time in almost a year that the Panthers were leading an NFL game. The Raiders looked to answer and did so by marching down the field, and Alexander Madison finished that drive with a 2-yard touchdown, tying the game up at 7. Carolina got the ball back, and again, Dalton just rolling, finishing the drive off with another Andy Dalton touchdown. This time my fellow Ginger threw a 5-yard score to Deontay Johnson. The Panthers were up 14-7, scoring more in a quarter and a half just in this game than they did combined in the first 2 games of the season. It's crazy. He was rolling, and Vegas was looking to respond to the suddenly high-scoring Panthers, faced with a 4th and 3 inside Panthers territory. Antonio Pierce was feeling aggressive and went for it. And just like so many teams I've talked about earlier, they did not get it, turning it over on downs, giving the Panthers pretty good position. Didn't cause any points. I guess it didn't backfire, but because the defense held up for the Raiders, but still changed the possession a bit. The Panthers did get the ball back with minimal time left in the first half, and Dalton would find Johnson on a big play to get in the field goal range. Then the very next play, Dalton would air it out for Adam Thielen. He reached out and made an awesome 31-yard touchdown catch. The third touchdown catch of the half for Andy Dalton as the Panthers led 21-7. Fortunately, in making that sick catch, Adam Thielen was injured and helped off the field. He wouldn't return. The Raiders had under 30 seconds to try and get some points, and they looked capable. Gardner Minshew hit rookie Brock Bowers for a big play. Defensive pass interference helped them out, giving them a chance at a field goal, but Daniel Carlson missed the 57-yarder. Panthers had a big 21-7 lead going in the break. The Panthers opened the second half with scoring with a field goal instead of a touchdown. Eddie Pinheiro knocking it through to make it 24-7. The Raiders looked to answer, and when faced with a 4th and short on the opening drive of the second half, they went for it. And just like multiple multiple times I've said, they failed to get it, resulting in another turnover and downs and Eddie Pinheiro field goal. Panthers were up 27-7. Early in the fourth, the Pants would run in a touchdown. Forgotten former Eagle Miles Sanders scored in a 1-yard touchdown. His first NFL touchdown in almost a year. Last scoring a rushing touchdown on September 24th last year against the Seattle Seahawks in a loss. The Raiders would quickly respond to that, scoring their second touchdown in the game. Gardner Minshew would find Jacoby Myers for a 13-yard touchdown. Then Minshew would find Myers again for the 2-point conversion. And early in the fourth, the Panthers were up 33-15. The Raiders got it back to their quarterback pretty quickly, only for Minshew to throw an interception and give it back to Carolina. See another Pinheiro field goal, and the Panthers were up 36-15 with 5 minutes to go. Next Raiders possession, they saw enough of Minshew for the day, throwing Aiden O'Connell out there, replacing Minshew. It was garbage time, but O'Connell led the Raiders down the field and found Trey Tucker in the end zone for the 8-yard score, making the outcome a little more respectable as the Panthers beat the Raiders 36-22, securing their first win of the season, and the Red Rifle did it in style. If you had to ask the over-under on 30 points for the Panthers, I think everyone would have went under. There's no way they're scoring 30 points. But in Dalton, they trust. Wow, what a step up for him. I'm excited to see how he'll do in week 4. I mentioned Adam Thielen leaving the game with that injury after that sick touchdown. It's a hamstring injury, and he's going to IR, so he'll be out a few games. Antonio Pierce, head coach of the Raiders, was not happy with the play. He was saying there's going to be some changes in week 4. We don't know what that pertains to yet, but he did cite lack of efforts and that tough loss. So now it's Minshew's starting, so the change isn't there. Where is the change? We know this running game needs a change because it is the worst in the league. They need to step that up. He needs help. If you're going to let people just pass rush Minshew and tee off on him, he's probably not going to succeed. But he's putting up career highs in complete percentage. He's a big reason the Raiders beat the Ravens, so I'm glad they're sticking with him. You don't want to bench him too soon here. I mean, the Bryce Young bench's looking pretty good right now. Hopefully it helps out everyone in that situation, but gotta love how the Dalton's doing. And we gotta shout out some history in this matchup between the Panthers and Raiders. First time in NFL history that 2 NFL franchises led by female team presidents played each other. That's pretty cool. We had a big NFC West battle. 49ers going into LA to take on the Rams. This fun rivalry with good friends and former members of the Washington coaching staff. Kyle Shanahan visiting Sean McVay. San Francisco was a little banged up for this one. We know Christian McCaffrey has been dealing with that troublesome injury, even getting to Europe to get that thing checked out. And Deebo Samuel was out. Visiting 49ers, they could not have asked for a better start, though, despite those injuries. Just minutes into the game, Brock Purdy found Juwan Jennings, 13-yard touchdown, his first touchdown catch of the season. And after the Rams did nothing with the ball, Purdy marched the 49ers down the field again and found Jennings again, this one 4 yards out. The pair had already 2 touchdown connections in the first quarter, and the Niners were up 14-0. Jennings really picking up the slack for some injured playmakers. The Rams finally got on the board with just over a minute to go in the first half. Matt Stafford finding Kyren Williams out of the backfield. Physical run before doing a front flip into the end zone, cutting that 49ers lead to 14-7. 49ers looked to quickly add points before halftime, but a strip sack led to Brock Purdy losing the ball, and we go into halftime 14-7. Halfway through that third quarter, the 49ers adding to that lead again. Brock Purdy looking for Jennings, their third touchdown connection of the game. That trifecta of touchdowns made it 21-7 for the Niners. The Rams looked to answer and had a scare when Williams fumbled the ball and the Niners recovered, but the replay, no fumble, and the Rams kept it. That was a huge overturn call because the Rams would finish that drive off with Williams running into the end zone for his second touchdown of the game, cutting the lead to 21-14. 49ers and Rams took turns exchanging field goals, Jake Moody hitting one, then rookie Joshua Carty knocking one through for the Rams, making that lead back to 7 points. 49ers were killing time, getting ready for a field goal to make it a 2-possession game again. However, Jake Moody was not in the mood and missed that 55-yard field goal. The offense could have maybe got him closer. A 55-yarder is kind of hard to... It's a long one to clinch the game, but these guys are making them. You got to make them. Regardless, he missed. LA had a chance to tie the game up. First play of the drive, Matthew Stafford found Tutu Atwell, 50-yard gain, getting into the 49ers' 10-yard line with just before the 2-minute warning. Lining up for the next play, Stafford saw something in the Niners defense, switching it up, changing to a running play where Williams ran in his third touchdown of the game. It's a 4-yard run, and it was all set up by that play change by Stafford. 49ers defense went that way, Williams went that way, and you had a 24-24 game. Niners got the ball back, and just as the quarterback Purdy was going out of bounds on a scramble, the Rams' first-round pick Verse gave him a little bit of a shove. There was a flag, but the refs got together. No flag, calling the hit within bounds. That was big. Rams stopped the 49ers there and forced the punt. And what a return by Xavier Smith, bringing it to midfield. Then on the first play, the 49ers just don't get a penalty. They picked up 3 different penalties on one play. You had a hands to the face, defensive holding, defensive pass interference. They took the ladder, and that put him in the 49ers territory. They'd run a few plays before getting set up for a winning field goal. 6th-round pick out of Stanford, Joshua Carty would step up, nail the kick, giving the Rams a 27-24 lead. And with that win, what a comeback win for the Rams. Down 14 points on 2 separate occasions. They trailed by 10 with 6.5 minutes to go. This is a ridiculous must-win victory for the Rams. You don't want to call them must-win this early, but they would have went down 0-3. Can't believe they pulled that off. Matthew Stafford, he's a comeback king of comeback kings. He's coming back to win in the fourth quarter for the 36th time now. Madness. Tough for the 49ers. They've been battling injuries, but you can't just blame injuries on this one. But they did pick a few more up. George Kittle picked up a knock. Trent Williams was battling injuries throughout the game. Brandon Ayuk, not injured, just not really showing up anywhere. He had that trade request earlier in the season. Maybe he's still getting in the shape. Still not clicking with Purdy yet. He's getting outplayed by Jennings right now, and I can't believe Jennings sat on the waivers in one of the fantasy leagues I'm in. He just sat there. So, of course, he was picked up at a price. But back to the drawing board for Kyle Shanahan. There's 3 teams in the NFC West sitting around the same record there. Speaking of one, let's go there. The Lions were looking to avenge their first loss of the season, while the Cardinals were coming off their first win. The Lions were looking physical on their opening drive, marching down the field and capping off that long drive with a 1-yard touchdown run by David Montgomery. The process, he tied the franchise record for the second longest streak of games with at least 1 rushing touchdown, putting the mark up to 6. That's a pretty good streak there. Cardinals answered by moving right down the field and capping their drive off with a 10-yard touchdown. Kyler Murray looking the number 4 overall pick in this draft, Marvin Harrison Jr., and that tied the game up at 7. Early in the second quarter, Detroit would regain the lead. Another long drive was finished off with a touchdown. Jared Goff would find Amon-Ra St. Brown for a 5-yard pass, putting the Lions up 13-7. It's a star wide receiver's first touchdown catch of the season, and it was only 13-7 because rookie kicker Jack Bates missed the point after try. Both defenses had some scares with injuries. Lions rookie cornerback Terrion Arnold would leave the game briefly. He'd come back. Cardinals safety Budda Baker, he left the game, but he'd come back, so good to see those guys on the field. Just before the 2-minute warning, the Lions caught a huge break. It looked like Goff got the snap off just before the 2-minute warning, and he proceeded to throw a pick 6, but the ref said, no, play's dead, 2-minute warning. But when you see the replay, I think the Cardinals got a little shafted there, and that was big. Because the very next play, the Lions pick up that 3rd down. Then we'd see a little bit of trickery. Jared Goff finding Amon-Ra St. Brown, immediately lateraling it to Jahmyr Gibbs, a little hook and ladder for the touchdown. 20-7 lead. Cardinals get a Matt Prater field goal before the first half ended. 20-10 going into the break. But the Lions, they were in some trouble. Sam Laporta had an ankle injury where he was carted off. And we'll see how that injury has going forward. The Cardinals were moving the ball again, and Murray looked for Harrison Jr. in the end zone, except they got picked by Lions' Kirby Joseph. The Lions looked like they were moving the ball, but Goff and his receiver were on the wrong page, and Dennis Gardeck would snag an interception, getting it back, giving the Cardinals pretty good field position. They went and they were faced with a 4th and 7, and Gannon went for it. And if you might know the theme of where we're going here, Kyler Murray put it into the hands of Trey McBride, but he couldn't drop it. A big turnover and downs. Neither team scoring in the 3rd. Arizona's Matt Prater kicked his second field goal of the game in the 4th, cutting that lead to 20-13, making it a 1-possession game with under 4 to go. The Lions got faced with a big 3rd down, and on their journey to running out the clock, Goff went to his go-to guy, Amon-Ra St. Brown, for the 1st down, taking it to the 2-minute warning. And after picking up that 1st down, Jared Goff showed off the legs, picking up the 1st down, put the Lions in winning formation. Big bounce-back win for them, going into the desert and eating the Cardinals. The Cardinals have kneecaps? I don't know. But regardless, big win for Detroit. While Arizona, I'm not giving up on them yet. I called them a playoff team before the season started. I'm sticking to my guns. This team's good, and a few different plays go a different way. They could be 3-0. Harsh reality, they're not 3-0. They're 1-2, and they got to start closing out these games, or I'll look foolish. I mean, shit. Visiting Baltimore Ravens were heading to Big D to take on the Cowboys for the first one of the season. Cowboys were still licking their wounds from that beatdown they suffered by the Saints, and Ravens, they opened the scoring up in this one. Baltimore going on a nice drive. Lamar Jackson running into the end zone on a 9-yard touchdown run, capping off that drive to make it 7-0. Cowboys answered with an insane field goal by Brandon Aubrey. The former soccer player has quickly become one of the best kickers in the NFL. Nailed a 65-yard field goal right in front of Justin Tucker, who may be considered the kicking GOAT. Don't say that to Peter, though. And the Ravens would answer that field goal by, again, moving down the field, and they'd get a big play. Lamar Jackson finding Nelson Aguilar. 56-yard play put the Ravens deep in the Cowboys' territory. From there, they'd pound the ball with King Derrick Henry scoring on a touchdown 1 yard out. And that's got to be disheartening for Cowboys fans, as there were talks they were pursuing Derrick Henry in the offseason. A line that after the game prompted billionaire owner of the Cowboys, Jerry Jones, to say, "We couldn't afford him." I don't know about that. Cowboys were looking to answer that score. Dak Prescott found CeeDee Lamb inside the Ravens' 10, but he had the ball punched down, fumbled, which was then recovered by the Ravens. The Ravens didn't score off that turnover, but they were able to pin the Cowboys deep in their territory, which looked like Dak was going to get sacked in his own end zone, but he got rid of it in time, hitting his own lineman, which is an illegal throw. You're throwing it to an ineligible receiver. You're in your end zone. I was figuring this might be a safety or something. But no, the Cowboys just received a penalty. They moved the ball back a little more, and they punted out. No safety there. The Ravens used that great field advantage from that punt, moving down the short field, capping the drive off with Lamar Jackson finding Rashard Bateman in the back of the end zone. 13-yard touchdown with just 13 seconds left in the half. Cowboys were desperate for anything, and with the help of a penalty, set up a 51-yard field goal. And you know Aubrey's going to hit that. Hit it, 21-6 going into halftime. Big lead for the Ravens. They started the second half like they started the first. Derrick Henry busted a long run. He'd follow that up with a 26-yard touchdown run, putting the Ravens up big at 28-6. The Ravens looked to expand their lead, but Justin Tucker missed a 46-yard field goal. Very rare. I don't know what's going on there for the NFL's most accurate kicker, but this isn't the first for him this season. And that miss might have inspired the Cowboys. They're like, man, if Justin Tucker can miss a kick, maybe we can come back. And with just under 9 minutes to go in the fourth, the Cowboys scored their first touchdown. Dak Prescott found Jalen Tolbert, who got the ball all the way down to the 1. From there, Dak would sneak it in and take a big hit along the way. They'd go for 2 and not convert. Trailed 28-12, and we'd see some history. The Cowboys were to recover the first onside kick since the new kickoff rule changed. The first of the season gave the Cowboys even a little more hope. Dak moved Dallas down the field instantly, finding Tolbert in the end zone for a 15-yard touchdown, the second touchdown in less than 2 game minutes. And again, they'd go for 2, and again, they wouldn't get it. And they trailed the Ravens 28-18. They're like, hey, let's get another onside kick. But those are crazy odds. They did not get it. The Ravens got it. The Cowboys defense did their part, though, forcing a quick punt. They were pinned again this time, but it didn't look like a sack, an eligible receiver throw. He led the Cowboys down the field instantly. Devontae Turpin, he got found in the back of the end zone, 16-yard touchdown play. They hit the extra point. They were down 28-25, 19 unanswered points by the Cowboys in the fourth quarter. Really made things interesting. The Cowboys defense was holding up. Could they get one more stop? Could they force that punt? Lamar Jackson said, hell no. We pick up the first down, running time off the clock. It was nervy, but the Ravens picked up their first win of the season, moving to 1-2. And like some other teams mentioned, the Ravens could easily be 3-0, but they're not. They got their first win, though, and they're good with that. Dallas, that was an awful game for 3 quarters. That fourth quarter, that's the Dallas everyone expected to see. They got to, like I said with the Raiders, they got to fix this running game. They got to figure this out. Dowdle, not making it. Old man Zeke, that does not sound like a running back right now. He's not lighting it up like his first stint in Dallas. Lots of work to do with the Cowboys. Jerry Jones telling everybody they couldn't afford Derrick Henry probably isn't helping things. So we'll see what happens. Big games for those teams coming up. And there was a big Sunday night game. You had the defending champions going to Atlanta to take on Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. The Falcons' opening drive, he found Drake London for an opening touchdown pass, 14-yard touchdown, put Atlanta up 7-0. Kansas City looked to answer with a touchdown on their own. 17-play drive ended with an interception. The 6th time Justin Simmons intercepted Patrick Mahomes. But he just reads him better than anyone, really. That Mahomes interception took place right in front of the end zone, preserving the Falcons' lead. Didn't lead the points, though. The Falcons would punt. The Chiefs said, we're scoring this time. This long drive ended with Mahomes finding Rice for the touchdown. It was tied at 7. Atlanta looked to answer quickly and got some help from a roughing the passer on Chris Jones. Kind of a rough call, but hey, it happens. Kirk Cousins would hit Kyle Pitts for a 50-yard gain, getting down to the 1-yard line where Bijan Robinson punched it in, and Atlanta retook the lead 14-7. KC would respond with a 53-yarder from Harrison Butker, and it was 14-10. But then things started going sour for the Falcons. They'd have two linemen go down in quick succession. Number 76, Caleb McGarry. We talked about him in the episode 76 jersey mentions, if you want to learn a little about him. And center Drew Delman, he was knocked out of the game as well. And the line was immediately tested after the 2-minute warning. Kirk Cousins got hit in the back by Felix Anaduke Uzamoa, and just as he was about to throw, and the ball came loose, Bijan Robinson kicked it out of the bounds. Smart play, illegal kicking call. But Atlanta would keep the ball facing 3rd and 18. The new center would snap it to Cousin, and he bobbled it right into the hands of Robinson. Almost looked like a Zoidberg handoff. It didn't result in a first down, but it was something unique. And Atlanta would punt it back to Kansas City, where Mahomes had over a minute and a half and a timeout before halftime. But he'd go 3 and out. So instead of settling for the lead going into the half, the Falcons got a little risky. Kirk Cousins looked to air it out again, but you could see the holes in the line. Jamaree Conner, just as Cousins was going to get thrown, he got hit. And Jamaree Conner picked it off. Just as he was about to get tackled, he get a little lateral to Watson, who picked up some extra yards, putting the Chiefs in great position with a little over 30 seconds to go. Got to give credit to Atlanta's defense. They played big, though, and forced another Butker field goal. 44-yarder, cut Atlanta's lead to 14-13. To open the half, Kansas City got another Butker field goal, a long drive that didn't end in a touchdown. It's just a 21-yarder chip shot, and Kansas City led 16-14. They're forcing the Falcons to punt, basically because their makeshift line couldn't pass block for Kirk. Kansas City would go on another scoring drive, and this one a touchdown. Patrick Mahomes finding Juju Smith-Schuster, 13-yard score, but Butker missed the extra point, keeping the score at 22-14, which was big, because that's still a one-possession game. Younghoe Koo would hit a 54-yard field goal to cut it to 22-17. The Chiefs would answer by going 3 and out. Mahomes, I almost mixed them up here, combined them, but Mahomes found Kelce on 3rd and short, but was punched out by Jesse Bates. Huge play to incomplete the catch there. On the ensuing punt, which almost didn't happen, it was a high snap, but Matt Reza made a big catch before booming the punt. And when Falcons returner Avery Williams muffed it, Kansas City recovered, but Williams dodged a bullet. The replay showed his elbow had just touched the ground. Big play there. So Atlanta was moving the ball down the field, 4th and 2 in field goal range. They went for it. Cousins found London for the first down. It was big because on the 3rd down, Cousins looked for Pitts in the back of the end zone. It looked like contact, but there was no flag. But they're like, let's go for it. Falcons went for it, didn't convert, turning it over, still 22-17. But revisiting that PI or non-end zone PI, I thought it was a brutal call. We saw it go the other way for the Chiefs. I mean, that was a call, and I thought this one was one. I don't know why they didn't call it, but this doesn't help the NFL's optics about leaning one way or the other, but I digress. The Falcons defense stepped up big, forcing another 3 and out and an incompletion on 3rd down, which saved some time before the 2-minute warning. And Kirk Cousins got the ball back, his own 35-yard line with 2:26 left. After a few big plays before the 2-minute warning, he had a 16-yard defensive pass interference. Watson would then get a horse collar, tackling Mooney, and that's another free 15 yards. And they were close, but faced with 4th and 1. They'd feed Bijan Robinson, and he got stopped short by Nick Bolton. Another turnover on downs. That really sealed the win for Kansas City. Mahomes did some moving around before kneeling to ensure they could run out the exact time. But on that second heel, Mahomes looked to tweak his knee a bit. I hope it's nothing serious or lingering forward, because you'd hate to see a delayed kneel down be the reason the face of the NFL misses time. But a big 22-17 win for Kansas City. They're still undefeated on the year, despite not having any nails yet left from all these nail biters they're playing. But a tough loss for the Falcons, who I got to admit, they were there. They were right there with the champions. They just couldn't close it out. Falling to 1-2 on the season. On the night with 2 Monday Night Football games, again, old man yelling at Cloud here, no more 2 Monday night games. But hey, we had the undefeated Bills hosting the winless Jaguars, so maybe it was good they had 2 games. The Bills would go on a nice drive, getting faced with 4th down, but they picked it up, an aggressive call that went well. And after picking up that 4th down, they capped it off with a James Cook rushing touchdown. Jags blocked the extra point, though, positive there, and the Bills led 6-0. Bills defense forced a quick punt by the Jaguars, and again, they marched down the field. Josh Allen bided some time before rolling out and finding Dalton Kincaid in the end zone. This extra point was good, and they led 13-0. Jacksonville looked to answer, going on a drive of their own, but they could only get so far and settled for a field goal. Rookie Cam Little kicked a 41-yarder to get the Jags on the board as they trailed 13-3. Bills got the ball back, and when faced with a 3rd and long near midfield, Allen would pick it up with his feet, crushing Jaguars' defensive spirits along the way. And a few plays later, Allen found rookie wide receiver Keon Coleman for a 24-yard touchdown, the first of his career, and Buffalo led 20-3. The Jags were again looking to answer, but Trevor Lawrence would throw an interception. This one was brutal. He sailed it high, and we'd see the first career interception for Damar Hamlin. He'd bring it in the Jacksonville territory on the return, and we all know the story of Damar Hamlin. On a Monday Night Football game, he was basically dead on the field, and if it wasn't for the first response workers, he may not have survived. So to see him come full circle, get healthy, earn the starting spot at safety, get the first interception on Monday night. You can't even write that up in Hollywood, folks. And the Bills would miss out on a touchdown when James Cook was wide open and it was just out of his hands, just overthrown, or he didn't get there. Regardless, it was incomplete. The Bills were like, meh. A few plays later, Josh Allen would find Khalil Shakir. He showed what his feet can do, running that one in 27 yards out, and the Bills went up 27-3 just for the 2-minute warning. Bills defense got that ball back again. Jags were struggling, and the Bills were rolling on their 5th drive of the first half. They'd get their 5th touchdown. Josh Allen finding Ty Johnson on the 16-yard score, taking a 34-3 lead in the halftime. Let me repeat that. 5 possessions, 5 touchdowns, 1 half. Mamma mia. The Jags needed a miracle and had to start somewhere. On their drive to open the second half, 4th down, Tank Bigsby, he looked stopped, but no quitting him. He picked up that 1st down, and Trevor Lawrence would hit Christian Kirk to get some good chunk of yards, and then he'd find Brendan Strange, a tight end, in the end zone, cutting the lead to 34-10. So you're saying there's a chance, but the Bills, they went on a long drive, hitting a field goal. What? Not a touchdown? Tyler Bass knocking it through to make it 37-10. Trevor Lawrence was still trying to get some rhythm going, getting his team deep in Bills territory. They had a 4th and goal, and the 35-year-old sack machine, Von Miller, showing he still got it, getting the sack. His first of the season on the iconic pass rusher, turning the Jags over on downs. From there, they're like, why is Allen in the game? Mitch Trubisky came in, and he did as Josh did. He leading the Bills down the field, settling for a Bass field goal. It's 40-10. Jags head coach Peterson, he's like, fuck it, I've seen enough. Let's get our backup in there. Mac Jones, he went out. First regular season action for the former Patriots quarterback. Not a good start. He'd fumble his first play from scrimmage. Bills recovered. Trubisky, again, leading those Bills down the field. And he'd find 4th-round pick out of this year's past draft, Ray Davis. He'd run one in out of the backfield 3 years out, his first career NFL touchdown, putting the Bills up 47-10. Mac Jones was trying to get some Jaguar fans, whichever ones were left in the stadium, something to cheer about. You get the Jaguars down the field, and then 4th and goal, he put it into the hands of Parker Washington. But he'd drop it. Just summarizing the game of the Jaguars, summarizing their season. They didn't look good coming in, but this was regression of mass proportions. In his last 8 starts, Trevor Lawrence, we know the numbers, 0-8, 59% completion percentage, and 11 turnovers. And remember, this dude just signed a 5-year, $275 million extension back in June. That's crazy. $142 million guaranteed. So whatever has been bothering him in these last 8 games, that needs to get rectified. I don't know. I don't know what Doug Peterson's going to do here. Like, things have got to change. Jags owner Shad Khan called this the best team assembled by the Jacksonville Jaguars ever. Maybe they're going to be looking for a new coach soon. There's a lot of pressure on this team. I fell into the hype. I had this team as a dark horse to make the AFC playoffs as a wild card. I might be putting on clown makeup soon here. They're going into Houston to take on a Texans team that is very pissed off following their loss. So that's a big AFC South battle coming up in week 4. Buffalo, they just look like a runaway train right now. The confidence is sky high. I believe Josh Allen when he says this team has come together. It's team first. I think, can we say Bills, maybe Super Bowl? The biggest hurdle will be the Chiefs. But maybe this is the year the Bills get back to the Super Bowl since losing 4 in a row. The talent's there, but it's going to come back to Josh Allen in the biggest moments. Oh, it's a good start, though. Excuse me. Big game for both teams as the Washington Commanders were taking on Cincinnati to take on the winless Bengals. The Bengals would have reinforcements on the way. T. Higgins making his season debut, and the Bengals opened this game with an early big play. Burrow would toss one deep to Jamar Chase. That connection getting a 41-yard touchdown, putting the Bengals up early at 7-0. Commanders answered on their drive on fourth down. Daniels found Luke McCaffrey a big 30-yard play to get them near the end zone. It's nice to see a McCaffrey on the field this year. Robinson Jr. would punch one in, scoring from the 1 yard out to make it 7-7. Bengals got stopped in their drive, and we'd see Evan McPherson attempt a 48-yarder and missing it, breaking a streak of 29 straight from less than 50 yards. Very strange for some kickers over the weekend. Washington took advantage of that missed field goal, moving the ball down the field like nothing. Then the Bengals defense got physically overpowered on a 24-yard Austin Eckler run. Didn't look good in the film room, I imagine. The Bengals moved the ball down the field on a play where Burrow was sacked. They were moving the ball down the field, and then there was a play where Burrow got sacked and Trent Brown went down. The right tackle had to get carted off the field. Big injury there. The long drive would end in a McPherson field goal. He hit this one to make it 14-10. And Jaden Daniels, he tossed the long ball to Terry McLaurin, completing a 56-yard pass, the first big connection of that connection. The very next play, Daniels would fake the entire Bengals defense out for walking in. And Washington looking good as they were up 21-10. Bengals went deep in the territory again, and McPherson would hit another field goal, making it 21-13, a one-possession game going into the half. Commanders started the second half with the ball, and number 2 overall pick, Jaden Daniels, continuing to impress, marching his team down the field before finding eligible offensive tackle Trent Scott for the 1-yard touchdown. The first touchdown catch for the lineman, and he celebrated by honoring the Qs, doing the dance of the fraternity. It's also the first career touchdown throw for Jaden Daniels. So that's going to be a fun trivia question one day, because of the way he's projecting, he's looking like a good quarterback. So the great Jaden Daniels, who did he throw his first NFL touchdown to? You're not going to expect an offensive lineman. So I like big man touchdowns. That's awesome. Washington taking a 28-13 lead. Burrow and the Bengals quickly trying to answer on the Nader drive, moving down the field where Burrow would find Andre Iosivas from 2 yards out. And it was on fourth down, so that was a big play, cutting the lead to 28-20. Commanders got the ball back, and they'd get some bad news as Austin Eckler left the game with a concussion and wouldn't come back. Commanders would hit Austin Seibert field goal and lead 31-20, another 2-possession game. Burrow would have another answer, linking up with Jamar Chase on another score. This one 31 yards out. 2 huge connections from that duo, a good sight for Bengals fans, but they'd fail to convert the 2-point conversion, trailing 31-26. Washington needed a big drive out of their rookie, and they got one. Jaden Daniels was killing time, picking up first downs. Then when faced with 3rd and 7 with 2 minutes to go, a lot of people are like, rookie, just handed it off. But remember, Jaden Daniels is not an ordinary rookie. He'd air out a perfect deep ball where only Terry McLaurin could catch it, scoring on a nice 27-yard touchdown, increasing the Commanders' lead 38-26. Still hope for the Bengals. Burrow looking for Iosivas in the end zone. It was incomplete, but defensive pass interference put it at the 1, where Zach Moss would punch it in, cutting the lead to 38-33 with 40 seconds left. They needed a miracle, and it had to start with an onside kick, but they'd not recover. Washington got the ball. They secured it. They ran the clock out. Big win for Washington. Gotta love it for Jaden Daniels and Dan Quinn. Daniels looking better than any other rookie, setting a record for best completion percentage by a rookie with a minimum 20 passes. I don't know, just going 21 for 23, 91.3%, throwing 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. And I think you have the best rookie performance of the season thus far. More positives for Washington. Gotta love it, but on the contrast, not a lot of positives for the Bengals. They're now 0-3. 2 star wide receivers that want out. They want bigger contracts, probably elsewhere. So there's trouble afoot in Cincinnati. This year could easily get worse before it can get better. Would not want to be in Zach Taylor's seat right now. This is a sinking ship, and we all know what happens with the captain. So we'll see what the Bengals can do here. So that was week 3. Craziness. So we'll rip through what I think is going to happen in week 4. Starting with tonight, the game I'm missing. I'm going to have to tune in, and hopefully I don't see any spoilers here. The Cowboys and Giants. I don't want to say must win in September, but for the Cowboys, this kind of feels like it. They showed some fight coming back against the Ravens, but if they get off to another flat start, they could lose to the Giants, and that's not a good thing for them. They're favorites to win, but they need to win the games. They're favorites to win too. We have to see what they're going to do to help get some pressure off Prescott with that running game. But the Giants, they're real wild cards here. If Danny Dimes and Malik Neighbors keep hooking up for touchdowns, I don't know what Cowboys are going to do. Singletary, he's looking great in the running game. He's obviously not doing what Saquon Barkley did, but he's looking pretty good in there. But will the Giants pull it off? I don't think so. I think the Cowboys are going to win this one. Which takes us to the Sunday games. And who would have thought when this Week 4 matchup came along that we'd have the Panthers with a win taking on the Bengals who are winless? Now, I said that it feels weird to call must-win games in September, but this feels pretty must-win for Cincinnati. So much so that ESPN's Dan Orlovsky said that the Bengals lose this game, going 0-4, they should seriously consider trading T. Higgins and or Jamar Chase. I know that seems mad, but you can't understand, like, it's not a total hyperbole here. Contract issues, they're not going away. And if the season's lost, why not try to salvage it? But I think they're going to win this game. I don't think they need to jump ship yet. The AFC's tough, but the Bengals have guys that could trigger a winning streak. I'm picking this streak to start with their first win over former Bengal Andy Dalton. Although how sweet would it be for the Red Rifle to stick it to the team that drafted them, second round of the 2011 draft? That'd be another good Hollywood story. Andy Dalton saying, yep, come to my new team as I put you in the misery. But we'll see. We'll see what the Rifle can do up against the Bengals. I think the Bengals are going to take that one. We have a big NFC South matchup with two teams that could end up fighting for the division crown. The Saints are really taken down a peg by the Philadelphia Eagles, but I see them bouncing back after some criticism in the film room. The Falcons, they were my pick at the beginning of the season to win this division, and they held their own against the defending champions. That offensive line is where it's going to be, though. You need to protect Kirk. This could go any direction, but I think the Falcons are going to do enough to protect Cousins, and I see them pulling this victory out, evening up with the Saints at 2-2. But we'll see what happens in Atlanta there. You have another juicy division matchup in the AFC South. Got a bout with division-leading Houston taking on the winless Jaguars. I talked about that embarrassing game the Jaguars had against Buffalo. It can only go uphill from here, right? Can it? I don't know. Houston lost that tough game against Minnesota, and I don't think C.J. Stroud's going to play like that again. Their receiver, Nico, could be out. He's a little banged up. I see the Texans flexing on the Jaguars, though. I see Trevor Lawrence improving from that debacle of a game in Buffalo, but I see the Texans winning this one, which will make a fool of me for saying the Jaguars are going to make the AFC playoffs. It's kind of hard if you go 0-4. I don't know about that. The Jets hosting the Broncos, another juicy game for me. It's not a divisional one, but there's some spiciness to it. We know how the Nathaniel Hackett era went in Denver. Not good. And when he was dismissed and Sean Payton was hired, Payton said how terrible of a job Hackett did coaching there. One of the worst coaching performances he's ever seen. Prompting Aaron Rodgers to have his coordinators back, saying, keep my coach's name out of your mouth. So there's some extra juice on this one. Bo Nix, he looked pretty good in his first NFL win over Tampa Bay. But this New York Jets defense, they're a whole nother defense. I like Bo Nix. I think he's going to be good, but this Jets defense is going to eat him alive. Nom, 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 nom. Jets are going to 3-1. Rodgers doing his thing. Speaking of Rodgers, let's talk about his former team, the jersey I'm wearing right now. And I'm wearing this. I know Brett Favre's had a lot of negative, but diagnosed with Parkinson's. You saw the headshots he took. It was one of the reasons he was my favorite quarterback growing up, but don't want to hear him dealing with Parkinson's. Sorry to hear that, Favre. This one is the most excited I am for this weekend. I always am every year. Vikings going into Green Bay to take on my Packers. Sam Darnold is taking the league by storm. He's looking phenomenal out there. I had questions about Minnesota this season. I'm like, Darnold, is he the answer? You know, Darnold hasn't had the best rap. I mean, he got that start with the Jets, which seemed like a disaster. We see what they've done with draft picks. But I don't know. He's looked phenomenal. Aaron Jones, the former Packer, he's salivating at coming back and scoring in Green Bay. He's going to probably do a leap. I saw he's got a write-up in the Players Tribune. I haven't checked it out yet, though. And is Jordan Love going to be back? We know he's been injured, and I thought it was way too soon, but he's day-to-day. If he's not fully ready to go, I don't know if we throw him out against the Vikings defense. I don't know if that's worth re-aggravating that injury, especially since Malik Willis, he's been getting pretty comfortable in the Packers offense. I mean, they're working Josh Jacobs in, keep working Emmanuel Wilson. I love his involvement in the option. That's only going to make things easier for Willis. And I like how the Packers are throwing a little tease out there. Hey, maybe Love's available. Maybe not. I think it's just to throw the Vikings off. I think they're going full Willis here. I'm picking with my heart, and I'm thinking the Packers are going to beat the Vikings in Lambeau, giving Sam Darnold the first loss of his Vikings tenure here. Another game I'm pretty excited to watch. Undefeated Pittsburgh going into Indianapolis to take on Colts. I was on like skipping there. Anthony Richard has been such an exciting player to watch, but he's gone full Jekyll and Hyde this season. He'll throw a bomb that kisses the sky before finding a receiver. Then he'll throw a hair-pulling interception that just nullifies everything. So I'm interested to see what kind of quick decisions he makes with that Pittsburgh Steelers defense. TJ Watt and company, they're beating up offenses and taking names. Justin Fields, he's playing like a quarterback that should be drafted in the first round. He's not making mistakes. He's making plays with his feet. He's making all the right throws. What more can you ask about the Bears cast-off? He's blossoming into the guy a lot of scouts thought he'd be. I love it. I love the redemption story. I think the Steelers, they keep this train rolling in Indy. I think Justin Fields plays great. Defense plays great. And despite Anthony Richardson making us jump up and go, holy shit, I think Pittsburgh's going to go 4-0. An intriguing matchup with one of the older quarterbacks in the league taking on a newcomer, Matthew Stafford, fresh off that 36 fourth quarter comeback of his career over San Francisco, going into Chicago to take on the number 1 overall pick in this year's draft, Caleb Williams. Threw his first touchdown in the defeat to Indianapolis, but he made his fair share of mistakes, as rookies do. But there's been really questionable play calling by the Bears, and a lot of times, I mean, it's tough to judge the play calling when the offensive linemen aren't really blocking, but this team's full of youngsters all over the field. But I'm expecting a good fight in this one. But I see the Rams picking up their second straight victory. Lots and lots of Kyren Williams. I see the Rams are beaten up, but I think they're going to take care of the Bears here, and the Rams are going to go from 0-2 a few weeks ago to 2-0. And we're going to go to an NFC wildcard playoff rematch from last year. The Philadelphia Eagles heading to Tampa Bay. Last year, the Bucs killed the Eagles, thumping them 32-9. But things are a lot more different this time. And despite the Eagles picking up that big win in New Orleans, they picked up those injuries I talked about. A.J. Brown's probably still out. Devontae Smith, he probably shouldn't play after that nasty concussion. He's missed practice. I don't think he'll be good to go. And I think those injuries might just be too much to overcome in this rematch. Tampa was humbled in that surprising loss to the Broncos, so I see them bouncing back in a big way, avenging the NFC South by beating the Eagles. And if this game is close, though, we saw what Saquon Barkley did in that close game with the Saints. He is a game breaker. He could blow this game up. There's a chance he could in this one, but I'm going Buccaneers. There's hesitancy there, but I think the Bucs are going to win that one. The New England Patriots are across the country to take on the San Francisco 49ers, and I think they could get beaten up in this one. I know the Jets already beat up on them last week, but the 49ers coaching staff, I don't know if they've slept since that loss to LA. They like the odd percentages that are always popping up on the telecast. Like, there's no way they should have lost that game. But they did. I know they have injuries, and I think Brandon Ayuk's going to leave the milk carton, and he's going to come back to the football field, and he's going to make some big plays for the 49ers. There's no quit in Jared Mayo's team, but the 49ers, I think they're going to beat them up here. This game tears at me a bit. I'm excited to watch this one. The Washington Commanders visiting the Arizona Cardinals. And as I've said a few times, bragging about this one more than my Jacksonville Jaguar team. Even though they're 1-2 here, Jags are 0-3, but I did pick them both to make the playoffs. And I have the Cardinals still sneaking in. The chance is there. And if they are going to get there, these are the games they have to win. And they're home against a rookie quarterback. But as I mentioned before, Jaden Daniels is not a typical rookie quarterback. He's gelling right now with Cliff Kingsbury. He's doing things that Kingsbury used to do with Kyler Murray at one point. A very small sample size of the good stuff. But Murray's been cooking a bit of his own with number 4 overall pick Marvin Harrison Jr. The Rook's coming off the injury report here with a quad injury. I hope that's nothing too serious. Hope he shakes that off as he shakes off Commanders' defenders going for touchdowns. Should be a tough group, though. This is going to be an exciting game. I'm expecting McLaurin to get found with deep throws. We saw how nice of a throw Jaden Daniels can throw. We know Kyler Murray can toss some deep ones to Harrison Jr., so I'm expecting big plays galore. I'm expecting the Cardinals win at home, and they're going to have the same record as the Commanders, as they both sit at 2-2 after that. Defending champion Kansas City Chiefs escaped another tough game that seems to be a repeat for them, beating the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday night in Week 3. Now they face off with divisional foes, the Los Angeles Chargers, but this isn't your regular Chargers team. I mentioned Derwin James Jr. suspended for the game for his hit, which I thought was a little excessive. Not the hit, the suspension. And you have the health status of Justin Herbert. The competitor inside Herbert will want nothing more to play against Mahomes, but I hate to say it. I don't want to be a Buzz Killington here, especially the way Taylor Heineke played. But maybe with a week of more reps, Heineke can step up. I think if Herbert isn't 100%, don't risk it. One big hit from Chris Jones and Herbert could be out longer than he should be. So just do what like Travis Kelce does. Go with Taylor. Stick with Taylor Heineke out there. Hope to pull off the upset. After the game, the Chargers have a bye week before heading into Denver October 13th. Just a little 2 cents there. I think you go with Heineke and you save Herbert for that extra rest. But we'll see what happens. I have the Chiefs winning regardless, going 4-0 on the season. I figure Mahomes is due for one of these breakout games. So if you have one of those receivers in your fantasy, you're probably going to win, I think. And with no Derwin James Jr. in the secondary, it takes a little bit of a fear factor out there because he likes to hit. And with him out there, it's really going to free things up. You have a matchup of two teams that really stunk up the joint week 3. Cleveland heading to Vegas to take on the Raiders. Browns did not show the Browns did show fight trying to come back, while the Raiders did the opposite, showed not enough fight, which prompted some pissed off quotes out of Antonio Pierce. So which team's going to bounce back? Myles Garrett's a little banged up for Cleveland, but he's good to go. Gardner Minshew probably not pumped about that. The Raiders can't figure out how to pick up any yards on the ground, and the Browns can just quarterback rush. I'm going to feel for Minshew because this could get ugly. But Pierce said there's going to be changes, so let's see what kind of changes happen for the Raiders here. It's going to be hopefully to their running game, like I said. And the Browns, they haven't exactly ran away with their running game. Nick Chubb's still out, so I think whoever establishes the better running game in this game wins it. In this game, I think it's the Browns. I have the Browns beating Vegas and Antonio Pierce being angry again. So obviously I'm biased, and I'm always looking forward to that Vikings-Packers game, but the next favorite on my schedule here, this could be an AFC Championship game if either of them can get by the Chiefs. But they have the Ravens hosting the Bills. The Ravens have looked spotty as they're 1-2, and the Bills, they be billing. They're looking like the best team in the NFL right now. They're spreading it around. Allen has had a few questionable plays as he does, but he's limiting them now. And if this team just stays on track and does what they doesn't, Super Bowl's attainable. I think the Ravens, they're pumped. They got that first big win of the season, but that's where that streak ends. I see them losing to the Bills in Baltimore as Buffalo goes to 4-0 and Baltimore goes to 1-3. So the Titans and Dolphins, this game probably looked better at the beginning of the season, but now you have the winless Titans who appear to have Will Levis making some kind of gaffe that makes a cool meme throughout the week and cost his team the game. And they're taking on Miami, who's 1-2, and man, you just hate quarterback injuries. Tua Tagovailoa, that's huge. He makes that offense move. The offense has all these Ferraris sitting in the driveway, but someone's lost all the keys. So this is where Stoop Huntley can do his thing. Backup Skylar Thompson. He was the backup, becomes starter. Rib injury has him in injury limbo. So I think rather than go to the Boyle man, Miami's got to go full Dre and call up Snoop. I think he'll be a great fit during Tua's injury. I think his game, it might be a little rough because he's so new and learning the offense. But I think he can get in there. He's going to find the keys and get these Ferraris back on the road. I see the Dolphins pulling the win off against the Titans. Last game we're looking at, the finale on the Week 4 schedule, a double Monday nighter that I haven't exactly hyped up, the Titans-Dolphins, so maybe this is the one to watch. We'll see. The Seahawks taking that undefeated record into Detroit to face the 2-1 Lions. This one could go either way, huge playmaking abilities on both sides, and I'm hoping the teams look to break the high score. DK Metcalf sprinting for touchdowns, Amon-Ra St. Brown hooking and laddering around the Jahmyr Gibbs. Who knows? It's going to be tough. Detroit, that's some hostile environment to go, and especially with the Lions winning again. I see it being close, but I see Mike McDonald and the Seahawks suffering that first loss of the season. So there you have it, folks. A recap of the fun of Week 3. I laid it down. We jumped into Week 4. If you bet on my picks and they win, holla at your boy. I'm not begging for money. Just come on, you throw some acknowledgement my way. But I'm missing the Thursday night game right now. I see the time, so I'm going to shout out DAZN here. That app's going to allow me to start from the beginning. So I'm just going to try not to see any spoilers while getting this uploaded. And we'll see how I match up with my picks here. Super awesome, super pumped football's back. And yeah, good stuff going on around the league. You can check out Sports and Shorts of Sorts on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Ren City out.